You're watching the KOAM Morning News on Fox 14. And today, a Kansas man gets sentenced to life in prison for 2 murders.
Do not leave this morning without the umbrella. We've got a radar that's full of not only heavy rain, but also some lightning as well. We'll have the latest from the Skywatch Weather Center.
Also, a Kentucky high school serves as the hub for tornado relief supplies. All that and more coming up.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
Thanks for joining us for the KOAM Morning News on Fox 14. I'm Bronte Sorotsky. Authorities in McDonald County, Missouri have arrested a man accused of pointing a gun at people on Christmas Eve. The sheriff's office says Spencer Daniels of Pineville pointed the gun at 2 people inside a vehicle behind Boone Slick Lodge on Highway 71. Authorities say Daniels then went into the lodge, pointed the gun at more people, threw the gun in a trash can, and ran to a McDonald's where he was arrested after a short chase. Daniels is charged with 3 counts of first-degree assault and 3 counts of armed criminal action, among other charges. Authorities in Missouri issue an arrest warrant for a doctor at a private Christian boarding school. Police say 57-year-old David Smock sexually abused students at Agape boarding school in Cedar County while he was a doctor there. Smock is charged with 2nd-degree statutory sodomy, 3rd-degree child molestation, and enticement or attempted enticement of a child. In September, the Cedar County prosecutor charged 5 other employees of the school with child sex crimes. A Columbus, Kansas man gets life in prison for 2 murders. A judge on Monday sentenced 30-year-old Mark Hopkins II to life without the possibility of parole for 50 years. The victims were found dead in a rural area of Cherokee County in June of 2020. 27-year-old Blaze Swink of rural Scammon and 20-year-old Kylan Shook of Pittsburgh had both been shot. Last month, Hopkins pled guilty to 2 counts of first-degree premeditated murder in that case. 8 people died on Missouri roadways over the long Christmas weekend, 2 fewer than the holiday period in 2020. The Missouri State Highway Patrol said troopers worked 310 total accidents during the period from Thursday through Sunday, including 92 accidents with injuries. The patrol also made 67 arrests for driving while intoxicated. The Missouri Department of Health and Senior Services extends a temporary increase of WIC benefits through March. WIC, or the Special Supplemental Nutrition Program for Women, Infants, and Children, allows up to 60,000 women and young children to receive healthy fruits and vegetables each month. Officials say the increase is the same amount as November and December, $24 per month for children, $43 per month for pregnant and postpartum women, and $47 per month for breastfeeding women. Ranchers in western Kansas have begun to recover from the deadly wildfires that torched their land earlier this month, but they acknowledge it will be a long process. Rich Coaster, whose ranch near the Russell County town of Paradise was among the many that were damaged, is typically busy caring for newborn calves or preparing his herd for winter this time of year. Instead, he's burying livestock. He says about 1/3 of his 200 cattle were killed. 2 men died, and the Kansas Forest Service estimates that around 163,000 acres of land were burned on December 15th in fast-spreading fires driven by wind gusts of up to 100 miles per hour. The city of Joplin names its new fire chief. Jared Ezell has 33 years of experience in fire service. He's currently serving as the fire chief of Maumelle, Arkansas. Ezell was Joplin's battalion fire chief until 2010. He also served as the fire chief in Diamond, Missouri. Joplin's former chief, Jim Ferguson, retired in June. Mark Cannon is serving as interim chief. Ezell will take over on February 7th. With Christmas over and the weather nice, many kids have been playing outside with new toys. So AAA is reminding drivers to be on the lookout. They provide some tips to keep in mind. First, check your blind spots, including behind your vehicle. Always assume children could be present and carefully check streets. And roll down your windows as you back up so you can hear if children might be playing. AAA also reminds parents to always keep an eye on their kids while they're playing. Scientists have discovered dozens of rogue planets floating in the Milky Way. The astronomers spotted the Jupiter-sized planets using sensitive cameras on a number of large telescopes around the world. The planets are considered rogue because they don't have a nearby star or sun to illuminate them, but are still hot enough to glow. Researchers say there are at least 70 of them free-floating 420 light-years away from Earth, but there could be as many as 170. The scientists have not said if they think the planets could be inhabitable.
It almost sounds like we're picking on them. A rogue planet.
They're just by themselves floating through space.
Yeah,
what else do you call them?
It's like we're being mean to them. It's just a rogue planet.
Okay, well, maybe they can give them a nicer nickname.
In the habitable Goldilocks zone of Earth, we've got a whole lot of rain. That is for sure. Now, we've been talking about how dry December has been. That's not going to be the case because right now we've seen an excess of an inch of rain in portions of Montgomery County, right down to the Oklahoma state line. In between Joplin and Neosho, got a measurement of about 1.2 inches. And then we're up to almost close to 1.7 inches of rain where we still have it falling very, very heavy up in the far northeast quadrant. As far as what we're looking at lightning-wise, we've got some additional strikes right here just south of I-44 in between Neosho and Monette. That movement right there gives you an idea how everything's progressing down from the southwest and pushing not due northeast, more of almost an easterly northeast push. Now, the heavy rain going to dominate the eastern part of southwest Missouri here for easily the next hour, hour and a half. But even after we're done with that, we still have good shower activity, just patches of some heavy rain through southeast Kansas. But this is why you're going to need the umbrella all morning long. Now, the interesting thing is we'll be talking about afternoon sunshine, and that'll give us a nice little warm-up because our temperatures have been very, very widespread, anywhere from 41 to 61. Then we see the cloud cover dispatch along with the rain by the time we get to the afternoon, and we're right back up into the mid to high 60s. As a matter of fact, we're going to close out 2021 with some abnormal above average temperatures. And coming up here in just a little bit, Bronte, not only talk about this morning's rain, but we've got another round that's headed our way for tomorrow morning as well.
Thanks, Michael. Up next, a new eye drop may be the replacement for reading glasses for millions of Americans. And later, we've got the story of a missing wedding ring, a Christmas miracle, and the power of social media. You're watching the KOAM Morning News on Fox 14. New insight into how a fetus develops in the womb and prescriptions for opioids fall in the U.S. Elise Preston has a look at some of today's top health stories.
New data shows doctors are prescribing fewer opioids in the U.S., but the decline is not uniform when it comes to geographic regions and types of prescribers. Researchers found the largest volume decline was in metropolitan counties and places with the highest rates of fatal opioid overdoses. Emergency room doctors showed the highest percentage decline in writing opioid prescriptions. A new European study finds retransplantation is the best option if a transplanted kidney fails. Researchers in Austria found patients who had a second kidney transplant lived longer than those who used dialysis. Doctors also say quality of life is better for patients who undergo a second transplant. And a battle of the sexes may be taking place as a fetus grows in the womb. Researchers in Cambridge say the father's genes drive demand for nutrients, but it is the mother's genes that control how much nourishment is provided to the fetus. Doctors believe this tug of war of sorts could explain why some babies grow poorly in the womb. That's a look at some of the day's top health stories. Elise Preston, CBS News, New York.
More than 128 million Americans deal with the hassle of reading glasses. But now, a new eye drop may allow these people to get rid of their reading glasses for good.
A restaurant menu, the newspaper, even the instructions on your prescription bottle. Have the words been getting smaller or blurrier, or do you need reading glasses?
Most patients tend to report, particularly between the ages of 40 and 45.
As we age, some people may develop presbyopia, or the gradual loss of the eye's ability to focus on nearby objects. Millions of people use over-the-counter reading glasses to treat their presbyopia, but now researchers say an eye drop called AGN 190584 may replace the need for those reading glasses. The eye drop treats the symptoms of the condition by targeting the eye's lens.
The way that they go about this is constricting or making our pupil smaller, which creates a depth of field effect to give enhanced near vision.
In a trial, participants said the eye drop worked as soon as 15 minutes after it was applied and reached its peak effectiveness in 1 hour. However, the eye drop is not a one-time treatment and will have to be applied daily as needed.
Side effects from the eye drop are rare, but can include headaches, red eyes, blurred vision, and some eye pain. If you're thinking about investing, those discontinued Lego sets might be the way to go. Researchers at a Russian university looked at the rates of return when it came to collecting toys. They found high-value collectibles proved to be a better investment than gold, art, or financial securities. They noted retired Lego sets that sold on secondary markets saw prices grow by 11% annually. That's faster than the rates for gold, stocks, and bonds. According to researchers, those who invest in Legos long-term can yield positive returns 2 to 3 years after retirement.
All right, I'm going through the kids' closet when I get home.
Yeah, and who knew?
I mean, exactly. You just sold me on it. I think yesterday was National Lego Build Day, as a matter of fact.
Really?
Yeah, I think I stumbled across that. There's National Day for everything. Yeah. We've got a day full of rain. That is for sure. We're seeing the heavy stuff come down on this line that works its way just through Delaware County. And now we haven't had a whole lot of accumulation down in the southern portion of the 4 states. That is going to change here in the next hour. McDonald County, Newton County, Berry County is where we're seeing it now, and spreading up just to about I-44 is where we're seeing the heaviest rain, latest lightning strike, but then still pretty impressive on the backside of it. One positive aspect of it is 49, while still going to be wet all the way up to Kansas City. And we see right there north of Nevada in Vernon County, 49 not being dominated by the heaviest rain like it was, say, about 45 minutes to an hour ago. Then as you work on the backside of that, still good shower activity that's not going to let up for the rest of southeast Kansas and northeast Oklahoma. We've been talking about those accumulation numbers. Where you see the yellow right here, that's going to be in excess of an inch right here in between Joplin and Neosho. That comes in at about 1.2 inches. Joplin Regional Airport sitting at about 3/4 of an inch right now. This is from very early this morning. The western part of southeast Kansas really got hammered with some sideways rain, and so that's in excess of an inch. And remember, we've got a ways to go here. These numbers are going to change quite drastically by the time the rain's done around the noon hour, because we've got to wait for everything to clear out of central Oklahoma as it makes that line. At least we're not involved in this mess up here where they've got the wintry mix right along the Missouri-Nebraska state line that eventually turns into some snow up by the Great Lakes. 46 degrees right now over 7th and Range line. At least it's calmed down a little bit rain-wise. Earlier, it was from the street light. You could see it moving in sideways, and the wind has also died down now that the heaviest of the rain has moved out to the east. Still a wide variety of temperatures, but down to the south and for Miami and Grove, we have seen about a 6 to 7 degree drop. At one point in time, we had our low 40s up to the north and as high as 61 in Anderson and in Miami. So now we're kind of stabilizing and everybody coming together as the front continues to follow the jet stream up to the northeast. We find ourselves on that far southern patch, which is not a bad thing because that way our temperatures way above average for this time of year. We should be about 47 degrees for a daily high. We'll be about 66, 67. And then overnight, our temperatures should drop down to about 25 this time of year. So we will be easily able to avoid that. We are going to get some additional rainfall though for Wednesday. Here we go. Tuesday afternoon. Sunshine, temperatures back up into the 60s. It is truly something else. And then early Wednesday morning, we begin to formulate more so down to the south. This will not be as widespread as what we had this morning, but we'll see the majority of the accumulation along and south of I-44. And then for the afternoon, once again, we're going to clear off. Temperatures still above average, but I want to point out what happened Saturday into Sunday. Just in time for the new year, we got a major cold front that drops in. Our temperatures on Saturday will just continue to decline to the point where with some of that rain, you may even see a snowflake or two. But our ground way too warm to support any accumulation. Be back with more KOAM Morning News on Fox 14 right after this.
The curtain's coming down on your chance.
There's a high school in Kentucky. It's serving as a refuge for survivors of a deadly tornado outbreak that ripped through 6 states earlier this month. Tamar Scher has the story.
Dawson Springs Junior-Senior High School on Eli Street is the largest building standing in Dawson Springs. So when the tornado struck, the building served as a refuge for survivors.
I still have my home, but my sister lost her home and everything in it. And then my best friend, of course, he was, took out of his trailer mobile home, and it took him all the way to the American Legion, and he was found under rubble. We couldn't ask for people to help us anymore. I'm so grateful.
Since the night of the storm, people have come from near and far to provide supplies and volunteer.
We were bringing in people that evening for triage, patching them up and getting them out as quickly as we could. We also brought in people that needed to be put somewhere else, that were displaced because their home had been completely destroyed. That's when it was discussed that this would just basically become a hub for materials that the community would need.
Each room in the school was filled with clothing, food, medical supplies, toys, and more.
To say it was a zoo is probably an understatement, but it was a very good zoo. Saw a lot of smiling faces, and I think when people came in for relief and they could actually get relief, and I mean that both in terms of what they could come out of here with, but how they felt, and that's what we were looking for. Yeah. But at any given point in time last week, we had well over 1,000 people coming through that door.
In preparation for students to return to school, any remaining items will be redistributed to other areas that may need supplies. Volunteers say they won't quit.
We're planning on coming back in February as soon as we find out what these people need, and we're headed back and we'll load up some supplies.
This is just this is amazing, what people has come in and poured in from everywhere and to help, and I just wish the best for everybody.
Students return to high school on January 18th. We'll be back with this morning's FourState Hero right after this.
It's time to honor today's FourState Hero. Bradley Prater, the Wyandotte, Oklahoma native, was a specialist in the U.S. Army. He served from 2003 until 2006, a veteran of the Iraq War. He received the Combat Infantry Badge and the Good Conduct Medal. To Bradley Prater, we thank you, today's FourState Hero. Thanks to the power of social media, a lost wedding band was found at a Florida restaurant and made its way back to its owners in time for Christmas. Joe Rotes has more.
It says Love Katie, K-A-T-Y.
While the name Katie is inscribed on the inside of this wedding band, the ring itself has helped write a bit of a Christmas miracle story about the power of social media. Meet Katie and Bob Mann. A few days ago, they were eating at one of their favorite restaurants, Aruba Beach Cafe in Lauderdale by the Sea. Bob dropped his wedding ring without even realizing it. That's where Michelle Heiser comes in.
And I'm walking, and all of a sudden I look down and I see a gold ring. And I said to my husband, I go, that looks like someone's wedding band.
Heiser, who was at the restaurant with her husband, immediately knew what she had to do.
And all I thought to myself when I saw the ring was, oh my God, what if it was my ring or his ring? I would want someone to try and find a way to get it back to me.
She posted a photo on social media. Just found this man's wedding ring in the street. It is inscribed. If you're Katie and can tell me what else the ring says, message me and I will get back to you.
Within hours, someone that knows them, that lives in New Jersey, got back to me and private messaged me, and he said, I think I know who it is.
That person in New Jersey called Katie and Bob, asking if the ring was theirs.
I asked him if he had lost a ring. And he said, no. He said, oh, wait a minute. I don't have my ring on. It must be, he thought it was in the bathroom and he couldn't find it.
It was. So they got in touch with Michelle, told her the rest of the inscription. That's the wedding date, and she delivered it on Christmas.
But it could have been run over or stepped on or stolen. I mean, anything could have happened. So we were just really lucky.
A Christmas present for this couple who have been married for 56 years.
It was just great that they would follow through like that.
I think they were more enthused than we were.
Now Heiser has plans for her husband's wedding band.
We also realized we better inscribe his ring because it's not inscribed, and if we lose it, we're in trouble.
Big trouble.
Now don't lose it.
But not for Bob and Katie Mann.
Happy ending, very happy ending.
And the ring came back just in time for Bob and Katie's wedding anniversary this week. Another half hour of news and weather just ahead, coming up on the KOAM Morning News on Fox 14. A record number of manatees died in Florida this year. Now experts will try an unprecedented rescue plan. And Spider-Man No Way Home might be the biggest movie right now, but the 2022 movies are on their way to claim the title. You're watching the KOAM Morning News on Fox 14. We'll be right back.
Minute with
The Four States Most Watched News starts now.
Welcome back to the KOAM Morning News on Fox 14. It is currently 7:29. Let's take a look at today's top stories. Authorities in McDonald County, Missouri have arrested a man accused of pointing a gun at people on Christmas Eve. The sheriff's office says Spencer Daniels of Pineville pointed the gun at two people inside a vehicle behind Boone's Lake Lodge on Highway 71. Authorities say Daniels then went into the lodge, pointed the gun at more people, threw the gun in a trash can, and ran to a McDonald's where he was arrested after a short chase. Daniels is charged with 3 counts of first-degree assault and 3 counts of armed criminal action, among other charges. Authorities in Missouri issue an arrest warrant for a doctor at a private Christian boarding school. Police say 57-year-old David Smock sexually abused students at Agape boarding school in Cedar County while he was a doctor there. Smock is charged with second-degree statutory sodomy, third-degree child molestation, and enticement or attempted enticement of a child. In September, the Cedar County prosecutor charged 5 other employees of the school with child sex crimes. A Columbus, Kansas man gets life in prison for 2 murders. A judge on Monday sentenced 30-year-old Mark Hopkins II to life without the possibility of parole for 50 years. The victims were found dead in a rural area of Cherokee County in June of 2020. 27-year-old Blaze Swink of rural Scammon and 20-year-old Kylan Shook of Pittsburgh had both been shot. Last month, Hopkins pled guilty to 2 counts of first-degree premeditated murder in the case. Officials in Kansas City say 5 people were killed in the city during Christmas week, bringing the 2021 total to 156. That makes 2021 the city's 2nd deadliest year on record. Only last year was worse when Kansas City had 182 homicides. This year topped the 155 killings that occurred in 2017. The entire Kansas City metropolitan area, including the Kansas suburbs, has seen 215 homicides in 2021. Mayor Quentin Lucas on Twitter says the city will never stop trying to reduce the number of killings, calling it Kansas City's greatest challenge. 8 people died on Missouri roadways over the long Christmas weekend, 2 fewer than the holiday period in 2020. The Missouri State Highway Patrol said troopers worked 310 total accidents during the period from Thursday through Sunday, including 92 accidents with injuries. The patrol also made 67 arrests for driving while intoxicated. Ranchers in western Kansas have begun to recover from the deadly wildfires that torched their land earlier this month, but they acknowledge it will be a long process. Rich Coaster, whose ranch near the Russell County town of Paradise was among the many that were damaged, is currently busy caring for newborn calves or preparing his herd for winter this time of year. Instead, he's bearing livestock. He says about 1/3 of his 200 cattle were killed. 2 men died, and the Kansas Forest Service estimates that around 163,000 acres of land were burned on December 15th in fast-spreading fires driven by wind gusts of up to 100 miles per hour. The city of Joplin names its new fire chief. Jared Ezell has 33 years of experience in fire service. He's currently serving as the fire chief of Maumelle, Arkansas. Ezell was Joplin's battalion fire chief until 2010. He also served as the fire chief in Diamond, Missouri. Joplin's former chief, Jim Ferguson, retired in June. Mark Cannon is serving as interim chief. Ezell will take over on February 7th. The Missouri Department of Health and Senior Services extends a temporary increase of WIC benefits through March. WIC, or the Special Supplemental Nutrition Program for Women, Infants, and Children, allows up to 60,000 women and young children to receive healthy fruits and vegetables each month. Officials say the increase is the same amount as November and December, $24 per month for children, $43 per month for pregnant and postpartum women, and $47 per month for breastfeeding women. With Christmas over and the weather nice, many kids have been playing outside with new toys. So AAA is reminding people to be on the lookout. They provide some tips to keep in mind. First, check your blind spots, including behind your vehicle. Always assume children could be present and carefully check streets. And roll down your windows as you back up so you can hear if kids might be playing. AAA also reminds parents to always keep an eye on their kids while they're playing. The state of Missouri is now offering a new option to test yourself for COVID-19 at home. You can now order a self-collection kit and ship it to a lab via FedEx. You order the kit on the state health department's website. The kit, which is free, should arrive in 2 days and is good for 6 months. Once you collect the sample, you have 24 hours to ship it in a prepaid envelope included with the kit. The lab will then send your results in an email. You have permission to eat all the chocolates today. Today is National Chocolate Candy Day. They're some of the most popular treats in America. You probably even got some as a holiday gift. According to the National Day of Calendar, Americans consume about 12 pounds of chocolate each year. In 1847, British chocolate company J.S. Fry & Sons combined cocoa butter, cocoa powder, and sugar, producing the first edible chocolate bar. Celebrate this sweet day. Enjoy those chocolate truffles. Just be sure to share.
12 pounds per person in the course of a year? I never would have guessed.
I guess we really love our chocolate here.
All dental professionals, feel free to hit Bronte up on Facebook, and it was her. Remember, it was her.
Oh my God.
They gave you permission to eat all the chocolate you want. Bronte, slowly but surely, we're seeing the heaviest rain begin to depart out to the east. We've still got a couple little pockets, but the heaviest band that was producing the lightning just about out of our highlighted counties, however, we're far from being done precipitation-wise. While it does revert back to shower activity, we still got a bunch to come in from the south, and so we're still going to go with our original time frame with the rain lasting up until the noon hour. So far, able to avoid any watches, warnings, or advisories, and temperatures a far cry from freezing. So all in all, it's much needed rain, and we'll call ourselves lucky so far. We'll be back with more KOAM Morning News on Fox 14 right after this.
How?
This morning on the KOAM News Now Facebook page and our morning Insta poll, ringing in the new year. In New York City, final preps underway for the traditional New Year's Eve ball drop. Of course, that takes place in Times Square. Crunch time. Workers have to check each of the 32,000 LED lights. That crystal ball, it weighs some 12,000 pounds. This year, going to be just a tad bit different. They're going to limit this crowd size to 15,000 people. Not sure how they're going to do that. I don't know if they actually check attendance, almost like you do at a ball game, essentially. Also, too, attendees have to have proof of vaccination and have to wear a mask as well. Our question to you is how do you plan on celebrating the new year? And an overwhelming 68% of you say just going to stay at home. Second place, 22% say, I'm just going to stay in bed. Each and every morning, several ways to connect to us. Via our Facebook page, you can go directly to the poll, KOAMnewsnow.com/vote, and unveiling our QR code. If you have your phone with you and want to snap a picture of that, it'll deliver you right to the poll. And of course, for the course of the week, we'll continue to bring this back. Don't want you to have to scramble for it right now. But once again, if you ever see that pop up on your screen, just grab a quick picture of it. Florida's threatened and protected manatees have died in record numbers this year, leading to an unprecedented, never-before-tried rescue plan. My man, Phil Keating, he's got the details from Florida.
As gentle and cute as manatees are, they are dying. A record number this year, more than 1,000. The mass die-off all boils down to pollution. From every source you can think of, fertilizer runoff from farms and lawns, leaking sewage, and industrial pollution, which makes its way into Florida's watershed, creating toxic algae blooms, which not only kills tons of marine life, but also clouds out sunlight, killing off tens of thousands of acres of seagrass, the main diet of the big mammals. And that has resulted in this: manatee carcasses on the shoreline. For the first time, starvation rather than boat propellers accounts for most of the manatee fatalities.
If the seagrass isn't as abundant as it was, then they have to go a longer distance to try to find food. That takes calories, it takes energy, and it puts a strain on the manatee.
Most of the 1,000 plus manatee deaths this year have happened in and along the Indian River. So for the first time, wildlife officials have come up with a new plan on how to help try to save the manatee. Feeding them lettuce and cabbage. Florida's manatee population is estimated to be around 7,000, having rebounded several years ago from the endangered species list. They're now listed as threatened, so they are still protected.
174 Auxiliger.
But there is help. Florida Wildlife and SeaWorld rescue and rehabilitate manatees, more than 50 this year, like this mom and her calf.
A little bit more, guys. A little more.
The big sea cows are fed, tagged, and released back into the wild.
They're a big part of Florida down here. Everybody knows who they are. They're another species that we're trying to help and make sure that this population doesn't, go down the tank here in the next 10 years or so.
Florida's Save the Manatee Club warns regular people not to feed them yourselves. That's against the law and can make manatees less fearful of humans and boats. Along the Indian River in Stuart, Florida, Phil Keating, Fox News.
We'll be back with consumer news right after this.
It is the thought that counts, but some holiday gifts still fall short of expectations. If you're looking to return presents that missed the mark, there are a few things you should know. CBS's Bradley Blackburn shares some tips.
Despite good intentions, the season of giving is sometimes followed by the rush to return.
Oh, it's not really my style. It's my go-to thing to be like, no.
I might as well try and get it within the window so I can at least get a gift card back to that store.
Many large chains like Macy's, Home Depot, Target, and Bed Bath & Beyond have a 90-day return policy for most items. Consumer Reports money and tech reporter Octavio Blanco says this year retailers took into account widespread shipping delays.
Most stores are going to offer more generous return guidelines for holiday purchases because of the challenges that the consumer has had in terms of getting their purchases delivered on time.
E-commerce giant Amazon provides labels for mail-in returns or accepts items at 18,000 drop-off locations. Many shoppers heeded the warning to get those holiday gifts early this year, but that could be a problem for some returns.
If you did your shopping early, good for you, but make sure that you understand that you may not qualify for the extended shopping returns.
To make returns as smooth as possible, keep the original packaging intact, especially for electronics. Hold on to gift receipts or you may be stuck with the lowest sale price for the item. Check return policies and time limits and bring ID. Some chains check for return policy abuse. Another option for unloading unwanted presents, regifting.
I had a gift regifted to me from my sister that my mom had given her. Got to be careful when you regift.
Experts say it's also a good time to practice gratitude, no matter what was in the box. Bradley Blackburn, CBS News, New York.
If you shopped at a mom and pop, experts say just give them a call to find out about their return policy and see if there's wiggle room. According to Consumer Reports, electronic retailers like Apple and Best Buy have the most stringent return policies. We'll be right back with more after this, but first, let's take a look at the market prices before the opening bell.
While Spider-Man, the biggest movie of 2021 and by a very wide margin, movies releasing in the new year already being looking for their shot at the top of the box office. Rick Damigella gives us a breakdown of what to watch for. We'll catch up with Rick Damigella later. It's not 2022 yet. We've got a ways, and we need to talk about more serious things, like the rain that we're picking up on this Tuesday morning. We're seeing a little pocket right there in Vernon County, just on the other side of Nevada. Now, the heavy band that produced all the lightning, it's pretty much moved out to the east of our highlighted county. Still seeing some down there south of I-44 in the far southern reaches of southwest Missouri and Berry County. Interesting that we've got a little clearing in Labette County, but we've still got a ways to go because everything's going to move in from the south. As far as our accumulation numbers go, we'll work from west to east. Earlier this morning, that's from the heavy rain that hit portions of Montgomery County, got easily about 1.4 inches of rain right here along the Oklahoma-Kansas state line, in between Joplin and Neosho, picking up in excess of an inch. And then up to the northeast, that's about 1.7 inches that we've seen recorded. Now, we started today, coincidentally, 1.7 inches down for the month of December from our historical norms. That's the number that we have at Joplin Regional Airport. So we quickly picked up on that. And remember, we've still got about 3-4 more hours of shower activity. I think we're done with the heaviest rain, but the showers are going to persist. Don't get rid of the umbrella because we've still got to pay attention to what's just now making its way on the other side of the Red River, because it's going to take a northeasterly track. This heaviest band, that's going to clip northwest Arkansas and then continue to push to the east. But as it pushes to the east, that still means that this residual is going to come through us. And then once we get to the backside of it, we've got a whole bunch of clear skies throughout most central Kansas and then Oklahoma headed toward the Panhandle. So as it progresses, we're actually going to end up with some afternoon sunshine. We're just a far cry from that right now over 7th and Rangeline. At least it's not raining sideways anymore as we sit at 46 degrees. Temperatures have drastically cooled off, especially to the south where we had almost 62 showing up on the board earlier. Now we're rolling from low 40s that we have right there in Fort Scott up into the mid 50s. And we're still holding on to 58 right there in Anderson. Let's go 45 in Parsons and 49 in Carthage. The Skywatch Storm Tracker shows us the coldest air hanging through the upper plains, and it's a good thing that we have been the recipient of above average temperatures because this is a mess that they've got up there. In fact, far northern Missouri, right on the Iowa state line, they're even throwing down some wintry mix. So the fact that ours was just some heavy rain at times, not too bad at all. In fact, how about up into the mid 60s later on this afternoon? Average high this time of year would be about 46. So we'll be about 20 degrees above that. And then overnight, we'll see the cloud cover begin to increase, but still able to stay in the 40s. So not too bad at all. Now, as we work into Wednesday, we're going to get some additional rainfall. There goes everything along with the cloud cover. Looking like a gorgeous afternoon. If you have afternoon, evening plans, take advantage of them. You're not going to, like I said, it's not going to rain all day long. And then Wednesday, we'll get ready to roll in from the southwest once again. Not as widespread as what we had this morning, but mainly dominating the southern portion and then rolling off to the east once again. So our accumulation numbers are really going to build here on the eastern part of southwest Missouri. No watches, warnings, or even advisories. So we've been lucky so far. Temperatures stay above average to end 2021 until we get a massive cold front just to begin 2022. We'll be back with more KOAM Morning News on Fox 14 right after this.
The curtains.
Welcome back to the KOAM Morning News on Fox 14. Here's what's happening today. The CDC has cut recommended isolation times for Americans infected with COVID-19 by half, from 10 days to 5. The move comes as virus-related worker shortages have hit a number of industries, most notably airlines during one of the busiest travel times of the year. A Colorado judge scheduled a January 13th hearing to consider a request to reduce the 110-year prison sentence of a truck driver involved in a deadly crash near Denver. The driver said his brakes failed in the 2019 collision that killed 4 people. The sentence has sparked outrage, with millions signing an online petition seeking clemency. Crews in Richmond, Virginia found what appeared to be a second time capsule at the base of a removed statue of Confederate leader Robert E. Lee. Experts believe it may contain coins, books, buttons, and possibly ammunition from the Civil War. It's set to be open this afternoon. And now let's check in with Michael for your final look at weather.
Friendly reminder that the showers are going to last all the way until about the noon hour, especially if you live on the eastern part of the 4 states. We'll see the skies begin to clear out from west to east, and remember, we're still going to be able to make it into the 60s this afternoon. Some additional rainfall begins early tomorrow morning, roll in from the southwest to the northeast. Similar pattern, though not as widespread certainly as what we had this morning. Above average temperatures to end 2021, and a massive cold front going to come bite us from Saturday into Sunday.
All right, thanks, Michael. A Virginia family received a special Christmas gift this year. Habitat for Humanity built them a new 3D printed home. The 1,200 square foot concrete house was built in just 12 hours. It has 3 bedrooms and 2 full baths. Habitat for Humanity Peninsula and Greater Williamsburg partnered with the 3D printing company Alquist earlier this year for the project. They say the house's concrete can withstand natural disasters like tornadoes and hurricanes. April Stringfield moved in with her 13-year-old son just in time for the holidays. She also received a personal 3D printer so she can reprint anything she might need, like an electrical outlet or cabinet knobs.
That is crazy. You can pretty much do your own home improvements.
I can't believe the short amount of time they made the house too.
12
That
hours.
is crazy.
Absolutely amazing. Thank you so much for letting us put the good in your morning. We'll be back with more news and weather when we see you at noon.
Have a great morning and an even better day.
Medical lodges would